Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss about the design process and the obstacles and pitfalls in the development path. So as we all know that developing a computer system is never easy. So one or the other there will be some drawbacks or some unforeseen errors might happen. So Gold in 1988 has made these general observations about the design. So he said that nobody ever gets it right the first time. Whatever the design, the product, what you're going to develop, or the interface, what you're going to design, for the first time itself, you will not get the best. Development is chock full of surprises. It means we have n number of choices. So among that, we have to choose which will be the best. So the number of choices available are more in designing any interface. And good design requires living in a sea of changes. It means sometimes whenever some changes are requested by the client, then the developer has to do that changes. So the good design always requires some changes always as to satisfy the needs of the user or the client. Making contract to ignore change will never eliminate the need for the change. It means once the developer has signed for the client that he has signed a contract in by delivering the product to the client, but we cannot say that it will be the final. The contracts, whatever the developer has signed, it might change according to the needs of the customer or the user. Even if you have made the best system humanly possible, people will still make mistakes when using it. So it means whenever you have delivered a product or you have designed some interface and handed over to the client, we cannot say that whatever the developer has delivered to the client, he will be satisfied. There is a chances that he may feel uncomfortable or uneasy or difficult in handling that particular software, because people will still make mistakes. That is, the client or the user may feel difficulty in handling those software or softwares. So then designers need good tools. So designers also need some good tools to design the interfaces or the front end of a application. So we cannot say that any application designed by the developer will fully satisfy the customer and he may not request for a change. So if the customer is not satisfied, then definitely he will ask for some changes to the developer. So these are some of the obstacles. And coming for the common pitfalls. Pitfalls means what? Since users make mistakes when they are using the software, the pitfalls in the design process exist because of a flawed design process, which might be including failure to address some critical design issues, or what to say, an improper focus of attention, or development team failed for organizing some of the some of the features. And the common pitfalls or some unexpected or unseen problems where the developers face is after delivering the product to the customer, that is because of no early analysis and understanding of the user's needs and expectations. That is, the developer might not properly understood the needs of the customer and his expectations. And a focus on using design features or components that are neat or glitzy. It means that the designer might have not properly understood the features or the components what requested by the user, and they may not be properly aligned, or they may not be properly properly designed in the interface, or there is a little or no creation of design element prototypes. So this is one of the common problem. The designer might have not developed a prototype, say directly he might have been implemented without a proper prototype, and there is no testing, no usability testing. So the usability testing of the software has not used and tested all the features. This might be the reason for pitfalls, that is falling down of that software. Or no common design team vision of user interface design goals. If there is no common design team, the design team where they don't have a definite goals to achieve the to design the software or the front end of an application, or there might be poor communication between members of the development team. So if there is a poor communication among the members of the development team, it may lead to some of the pitfalls, or the product might fall down, which is not satisfying the customer needs. So these are some of the pitfalls. And designing for people, the 5 commandments what the developer has to follow. That is, the complexity of a graphical or a web interface will always magnify any problems that occur. So pitfalls can be eliminated if the following design commandments remain foremost in the designer's mind. So the designer, when he is developing, he should keep these 5 commandments in his mind. That is, he should gain a complete understanding of users and their task. That is, the users since the users are the customers, and people expect a level of design sophistication from all interfaces, including the websites. So the product, system or the website must be geared or must be designed to people needs, not those of the developers. So the developer has to completely understand the user's task and his needs. Second point, solicit early and ongoing user involvement. It means involving the users in a design from the beginning provides a direct conduit to the knowledge they possess about the jobs, tasks and needs. So involvement also allows the developer to confront a person's resistance to change, a common human trait. So here people dislike changing for a variety of reasons. Among them, fear is one of the unknown and lack of identification with the system. So here we should involve the users, collect their requirements and modify accordingly. And next is, the developer should perform the rapid prototyping and testing. It means once the features or the requirements are collected from the user, and this prototyping and testing, the product will quickly identify the problems and allow the developer to develop solutions. Prototyping and testing must be continually performed during all the development stages, and if thorough testing is not performed before product release, then the testing will occur in the user's office. So it is also much harder and more costly to fix a product after its release. So it's better to test before releasing the product. Modify and iterate the design as much as necessary. It means while design will proceed through a series of stages, problems detected in one stage may force the developer to revisit a previous stage. So establish user performance and acceptance criteria and continue the testing and modifying until all the design goals are met. Then last is integrate the design of all system components. It means the software, the documentation, the help function and the training needs are all important elements of a graphical system or website, and all should be developed concurrently. So time will also exist for design trade-offs to be thought out more carefully. So once all the components are tested, it should be often integrated, and then again it should be tested to satisfy the customer. So these are the 5 commandments that developers has to keep in mind while designing any of the product or the software or the interface. Next, what is usability? See here, usability assessment should begin in the early stages of the product development cycle and should be continually applied throughout the process. Usability means what? The term usability is used to describe the effectiveness of human performance. So the term usability is defined as the capability to be used by humans easily and effectively. So what is this easily means? Easily is to a specified level of subjective assessment. Effectively is equal to a specified level of human performance. So here the usability mainly deals with how effectively the performance of the human can be enhanced. So here what to say, it is Bennett was the first to use the term usability to describe the effectiveness of human performance. So some of the common usability problems are: Mundell in 1994 listed some common usability problems in graphical systems as reported by the IBM. So there we have ambiguous menus and icons. Some of the usability, how the performance of human performance is degraded because ambiguous menus and icons. Many menus are of confusion state, ambiguous. There are n number of choices of menus, and language that permit only single direction movement through a system. So here some of the jargons what used might not be understandable to the user. Input and direct manipulation limits. So this is also one of the direct manipulation limits. Highlighting and selection limitations. That is, whenever we are using some interface, some of the highlighting of text or the selection of features might be limited. And unclear step sequences. That is, whenever the user is moving from one page to another page or choosing menus, through cascading menus, etc., there might be some unclear sequences of steps. He may not be able to come back to the home, or he may not be able to move to the next page, or he want to go to the middle of the software somewhere. He might be facing some problems. More steps to manage the interface than to perform the task. So as the number of menus or the choices are more, and it might be involved, more number of steps may be used in the interface than performing useful tasks. Complex linkage between and within the applications. That is, the links what you are using, it might be of more links, which might be exceeding more than 30 to 40 links within a page or within the applications. Inadequate feedback and confirmation. So this is also one of the usability problems. Whenever we are using any application or a software, we should the user has to give a proper feedback and the confirmation. Otherwise, if it is inadequate, we don't know how that software or the application is working. The developer might feel difficulty in understanding it, or if it is not properly documented, then the user might not be able to understand how that software will be working. Lack of system anticipation and intelligence. This is also one of the drawback. That is, the user might be not familiar with the system and its features. And inadequate error messages, help, tutorials and documentation. So if the client is having the error messages, what is displayed on the interface is not sufficient, and help is not associated with many tutorials, or documentation is not properly given in the software, then the performance will be automatically degraded. So the developer has to give a proper documentation or tutorials to the user in the form of a CDs, or in the form of a written document, or it might be an online information regarding how each feature or the application will be working whenever some problems are encountered. So some of the practical measures of usability are where the developer has to ask, or he should know, are people asking a lot of questions, are often reaching for a manual, whether manual is provided. If manual is not provided, then the developer has to provide the manual to the client. So are frequent exasperations responses heard? That is, or frequently the users are responding to the feedback, or frequently they are accessing the help. Are there many irrelevant actions being performed? That is, excessive mouse clicks or keyboard strokes going there, many operations, or since excessive keystrokes or keyboard strokes may alter the normal execution of that particular application, some of the irrelevant actions. Are there many things to ignore where the user, is there any features which is not needed to the client and which has been added, which has to be ignored? Do a number of people want to use this product? That is, how often the people are using this particular product? For what kind of people we are developing this, for a novice or for an expertise? What is the attitude of the people to accept this particular website? So these are some of the practical measures of usability. Then some objective measures of usability are, that is, Shackle presents the following more objective criteria for measuring the usability. That is, how effective is the interface? Can the required range of tasks be accomplished? So here the interface has been developed and the interface has been handed over to the customer, and some of the questions that needs to be answerable is the interface is better than some required level of performance, or by some required percentage of the specified target range of users within some required proportion of the range of usage environment. So these questions has to be answered. And how learnable is the interface? Can the interface be learned? So that is within some specified time from commissioning and start of user training. Is this interface is learnable? So can the interface be learned based on some specified amount of training and user support? Does this interface need some training, or the user by himself can learn it, or within some specified relearning time each time for intermittent users? It means is different users need different time, or the time taken for each user will be varying. So how it is learnable? Can it be learned by the client itself, or they need someone to train them? Next, how flexible is the interface? Is it flexible enough to allow some specified percentage variation in task or environment beyond those specified? It means the interface should be more flexible. So whether it is flexible or not, what are the attitudes of the users? Are they within acceptable levels of human cost in terms of tiredness, discomfort, frustration, and personal effort? So here, such that satisfaction causes continued and enhanced usage of the system. So it should be more flexible for the user, so that the user should not get tensed, or he should not get tired, or he should not feel discomfort in handling that particular software. So some of the objective measures of usability is, first he should know how effective is the interface, how learnable is the interface, and how flexible is the interface. Next, the design team. The design team here, they provide a balanced developed design team, and it includes the development, human factors, visual design, usability design, documentation, and training. So different kinds of teams and different kinds of people are involved in performing different roles in designing any interface or a product or an application. So here, first to design, the design team should know the user or the client. So they should understand understand how people interact with computers, that is their users. Client are nothing but their user. Understand the human characteristics important in design, and identify users' level of knowledge and experience. The developer should identify characteristics of users' needs, task, and job. He should identify the psychological characteristics and physical characteristics of the user, and then only he should employ recommended methods for gaining understanding of the users. So why people have trouble with the computers? Why many people are facing some problems while handling the computers or the software or the application? So what makes system difficult to them? So here one is the non-obvious design, that is complex or what to say, novel design elements are not obvious, or they may not be intuitive, they must nevertheless be mastered. And use of jargon. Jargon means systems often speak in a strange language, and words that are completely aligned to the office or home environment are used in different contexts such as file spec, append, segment, boot, etc. So this is one of the problem. And other one is disparity in problem solving strategies. Disparity means people learn best by doing. They have trouble following directions and they do not always read instructions before taking an action. So human problem solving can be best characterized as error connecting or trial and error. So whereby a tentative solution is formulated based on the available evidence and then tried. So that is one of the problem. The other one is the design consistency. Design consistency in the sense the same action may have different names. For example, save and keep, write and list. So the same command may cause different things to happen. The same result may be described differently. For example, not legal and not valid. So the same information may be ordered differently on different screens. So the user might feel what is say conceptual learning here becomes very difficult. So he may be feeling difficulty in handling. The other one is the fine distinctions. Fine distinctions means different actions may accomplish the same thing depending upon when they are performed, or different things may result from the same action. So these are some of the problems where the people have in handling the computers. So what makes the system difficult to use in the eyes of users is nothing but these are some of the problems where the user is facing. Then what are the responses to poor design? So the responses to poor design, people remember the one thing that went wrong and not the many that go right. So problems are ascribed as abnormal importance, abnormal level of importance. So some of the psychological responses to poor design are, one is confusion, that is meaningful patterns are different to ascertain and the conceptual model or the framework cannot be understood or established. And next is the annoyance. Annoyance in the sense the roadblocks that prevent a task being completed or a need from being satisfied promptly and efficiently will lead to annoyance. And frustration in the sense the user an inability to easily convey one's intention to the computer. The user might feel difficulty in conveying what task he wants to do, or he finish and can finish using the system, but he may not able to achieve it. Then it leads to a frustration. And panic or stress, that is if unexpectedly long delays during times of severe or unusual pressure may introduce panic or stress to the users. So that is if systems are taking a long response time when the user is operating under a deadline or dealing with an irate customer, so he may be in a stress state. Boredom means this results from improper computing paces, that is from slow responses or whenever the application is taking long time to download something, So then the user feels bored. So these are some of the psychological responses to poor design. Coming for the physical responses to the poor design, one is abandonment of the system or partial use of the system. Abandonment means the system is rejected and other information sources are relied upon. Partial means only a portion of system's capabilities are used, and usually those operations that are easiest to perform might be used by the user, and most of the other operations might be ignored. And indirect use of the system. Indirect means an intermediary is placed between the would-be user and the computer. Again, since this requires high status and discretion, it is other typical response of managers or others with the authority. Then the modification of the task. So here the task is changed to match the capabilities of the system. This is a prevalent reaction when the tools are rigid and problem is unstructured, as in scientific problem solving. And compensatory activity, that is additional actions are performed to compensate for system inadequacies. That is manual reformatting is an example for this. And misuse of system, that is the rules are bent to shortcut operational difficulties. And direct programming, so the system is reprogrammed by its user to meet the specific needs. So this is a typical response of the sophisticated worker. So these are some of the responses to the poor design. So hope you all have understood. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment. Thank you.